everybody. Welcome to Abnormal Truth. Hope everybody's having a great day out there. I just want to make a video on the Mandela effect. It's been fascinating me for a while now. If you don't know what the Mandela effect is, um, it's people are having these situations where they remember an event or a product or a movie, and it's changed now. There's details that have changed. Um, I guess I'll give Mandela as the name, the phenomena is named after him. Um, it was noticed that a lot of people thought Mandela had died while he was in prison. And that's not the case. He lived to get out of prison. And but Fiona Broome, she was a paranormal investigator, and I think that's pretty cool. And she kind of put the two and two together and said this is a phenomena. It's not just one or two people. There's no telling how many people have that memory. And so, when you only hear about one example, it's not that big of a deal. But when you start looking into it and really seeing how many things have happened to you that you know are not right, it gets a little weird. I'll name a few of them, like Looney Tunes. Looney is spelled the same way in both, I don't know how you would say it, realities. But the tunes is spelled different. The way it is spelled now is Tunes. Like a tune that you would listen to. And that's not how I remember it. I remember about a year ago, I was watching, hadn't seen that Bugs Bunny cartoon in a long time, so I'm going to watch this for a second. And the logo came up with a Looney Tunes logo, and I was like, what? Maybe this is some newer part of the franchise? I don't know. Um, and, the way some people, I'm not alone on this, remember it as Toones, tunes, like a cartoon. Um, so, I'd like to point out, because I'm trying to see the patterns in here. The Toones, that one to me is better in every way, and it's not just because I'm biased, because that's how I remember it. A tune is a cartoon. It's also crazier spelling, cartoonish spelling. You got the two O's in the loony, and you got the two O's in tunes, and it just works. It works on all those levels. It's loony cartoons, not loony music, if that makes sense to you. So isn't it amazing we have all these little like associated memories, and things like that. That's what I immediately thought when I saw the Tunes. I was like, that's just weird. And so I'm going to talk about these little minor ones that a lot of you might have heard of. Fruit Loops. When I was going down the grocery aisle, yeah, I looked at it, grabbed a box of Fruit Loops, and they spelled it different, and I noticed it immediately. And this wasn't too long ago, so I mean, again, I think the phenomena is fairly recent, and hopefully I won't forget to elaborate on that. Um, anyway, it's kind of opposite of the Looney Tunes for me. It looks weird with all those O's in there. They used to spell it fruit correctly. And, I thought, well, they just did a logo change, freshen things up. Put it in my cart, and I went on my merry way. That one I'm 100% sure on too. Um, you know, and if you're saying right now, well, so what about the spelling? I mean, who gives a crap which way it was spelled? Well, that's not supposed to happen. That's a change in reality. Because when you look back, you got to understand that it's always been FROOT as far as my current reality says right now. When you go look up the boxes of Fruit Loops from the 50s, it's got OOT. Um, so that's basically the beginning of the Mandela effect. You start listening to a lot of them, seeing if any of them sound wrong or right to. Another one is the Volkswagen symbol. I haven't heard a lot about this one. It has this horizontal space in the middle of it where the letters kind of meet, and I'm 100% sure that was not there at all. I've owned Volkswagens. Um, it's kind of weird to think that if I've never heard of the Mandela effect and I was walking by a Volkswagen and I saw that and if I noticed it, I would have been like, well, I guess they just changed their logo a little bit, and I never would have looked it up or anything. But I think it's just a slight change, but it's still a change, and it wasn't that way before. It was all fluid. That little line there in the middle was gone, and it was just the letters. It was simpler in that way, but not a big change. Now, Volvo. That one I don't even recognize. That's what's scary. I don't even recognize it at all. I've never seen that Volvo symbol before, ever. Now, isn't that strange? Because I know I've seen a Volvo badge on a Volvo before. And that one is unrecognizable. I mean, I search vintage Volvo badges, try to find the older ones, and it's still that same basic symbol that I just don't recognize, and that's a big clue to me. That's another one I am 100% on. Um, Skechers, the shoe company. Lots of people remember that with a T in there, and so do I. And again, that's just all wrong. Just I can, Skechers. I don't see how that's not there. And I'm 100% sure that T was in that thing. I used to like their shoes back in the day. Sarah Lee is a weird one. When I was a kid, they did a lot of advertising, like you would call it nowadays a viral campaign. And their slogan was driven in a lot of our brains from TV. And what it is today, the jingle, it's nobody doesn't like Sarah Lee, and the way a lot of other people remember it is nobody does it like Sarah Lee, and that's the way I remember it. Nobody does it like her. See, I can kind of see how everybody could have misquoted that. I mean, they didn't. I don't remember if they actually spelled the lyrics, that slogan out on the screen ever. But I think I would have caught that. I think everybody else would have too. But again, I'm 100% positive that's how I remember it. Nobody does it like Sarah Lee. And again, this one doesn't make as much sense. It's not as good of a slogan that way. That's a little clue. It's weird that a lot of these things don't just seem to be on par with the way I remember it. Why are my quote unquote false memories better lines and better slogans than the one that I have now? That's a little clue. Don't know what it means, but there's something in there. There's a tidbit of info in there. Um, so that one's always been, you know, pretty weird there. So let's go on with Sex in the City. Now, I never was a fan of this show, but nowadays, even if you aren't a fan, you've heard something that's popular, you'll hear about it. And, uh, it's kind of like the Sarah Lee one to me. I can see how everybody could be misquoting Sex in the City, especially if people that are talking about it are going Sex in the City and abbreviating that and. But I can tell you, I definitely only remember it as Sex in the City, and it kind of rolls off my tongue, and I've always said it that way. Um, but that's how this thing is kind of personal to everybody, isn't it? Um, if you're not that big into the Sex and the City, you would have been like, I'm not really sure, because you'll question yourself, because the reality is, you go back and look up Sex in the City, and everything Sex and the City. That's everything says that. That's the way it's always been. It never changed. So, and again, Sex in the City rolls off your tongue better. It makes more sense for some reason to me. I may be biased, but it's just I remember. Yeah, there's some middle-aged chicks having sex in the city. Okay, that's kind of how I associated that whole thing. And Sex and the City somehow different. It's like uh, life and times and sex in the city. Or I don't know. It's weird how little changes like that can kind of really, it's like associated memory with it. I don't think everybody's misquoting that, but I'm not going to say 100% on that one. But it's still widespread enough to bring up for sure. Now, let's get into some little bit more heavier ones that I haven't heard too many people talk about. Um, do you remember who Eli Whitney is or was? I do. I remember the teacher. It must have been ninth or 10th grade. I remember the teacher. We're going over the list of inventors and what they invented, important inventors. And Eli Whitney came up and he invented the cotton gin. And uh, Eli Whitney was an important black inventor. And I remember, well, that's really the only recollection of a black inventor I ever remember throughout my high school studies and college too. So that one's always been a fact for me. I don't know why. I took note of it, and it's almost like I remember looking at the book and the teacher saying that. I mean, I've got a pretty good, vivid memory of that. And my whole life, that's, if you asked me who Eli Whitney was, I would have told you. Now, what's strange is you go to Google and type in Eli Whitney's name, and he's a white guy. Yeah. Um, Kind of boggles my mind on what kind of like time change or different dimension that Eli ended up as a white guy instead of a black guy. You know what I'm saying? Like what what happenstance changed that? So yeah. But I swear I'm 100,000% sure on Eli Whitney was a famous black inventor, and now he's not. Um, I don't know if you guys are getting a long list like I am, but if it gets worse, it's like I don't know what the hell is correct anymore in the history. That's not going to be a good thing. Um, I remember Gene Wilder dying. I was sad. It was one of my favorite comedians. There's not many famous people that I would get even a little upset over. There's a lot of them I would take note on and go, but nothing like this. Gene was just I'm just a big fan of Young Frankenstein and all that, and he's alive. Jane Allgood's another one I haven't heard too much of, but I know that some people are saying that. I remember her working with gorillas, not chimpanzees. I am not 100 on that, um, but I really remember. I mean, here's my associated memory with it again. Uh, her thing was, chimpanzees are dangerous too. It would be a dangerous thing to go and live with them that closely and stuff, right? But anyway, gorillas are a different story than chimpanzees, right? But that's what I remember, and I know you can tell the difference between a chimpanzee and a gorilla from pretty far away. And I remember the videos of her sitting down. I'm pretty sure it wasn't orangutans. Yeah, it was gorillas. And so I'm not 100% on that. Another weird one is an old painting of Henry VIII. Okay, and he's eating a turkey leg. Anybody out there remember that? I do. Um, and it's kind of strange that it's not there anymore. But the new picture that I keep seeing, that's like I guess the famous one. I don't think it's as famous as the chicken leg or turkey leg one, but they made him look all standing up straight, and the way they had him painted, he was in perfect health, and he was stout and kingly looking. That the one that's in this timeline, that his painting was he must have had a way better PR rep or something. I don't know what happened, but the other one, he was, he had a big old turkey leg in his hand. I find that one interesting, um, and you can't find it anymore. It's weird, right? I'm gonna do some of the movies real quick. Lots of people have gone over them, but I just have to talk about some of the main ones. I'm going to start out with a Snow White one though, because it's got a little bit of importance as far as patterns go, or it's red flagging me because first of all, if you don't know, Snow White, almost everybody agrees. It's a famous saying. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? I've heard it all my life. And when you go back and watch the movie, she says, "Magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" And again, guys, well, one thing is I want to point out that this is almost everybody remembers this. So that's a red flag in there. Why? You know? But then again, magic mirror on the wall just doesn't. It just doesn't go. Mirror, mirror on the wall sounds more like a spell to me, basically, than magic mirror on the wall. I mean, it just sucks. It's inferior in every way if you think about it. So again, why is this theme coming up? Like, uh, did we merge into a lesser, just one that was slightly less cooler than the one? It's just mind-boggling. But tell me why everybody in the world quoted that mirror, mirror. Um, I'm gonna go on to Field of Dreams real quick. Uh, I've watched that movie a long time ago, and he said, "Build it, and they will come," was how it went. And I remember, again, another associated memory, not just yeah, I kind of remember that. I have other thoughts that help me remember why I thought of this line. Um, and it's been explained before in other people's videos, but basically now, if you go back and watch the clip or the movie, it says, "Build it and he will come." And it's so different than it's the same case. It doesn't work as well. It just sounds wrong because I know that's not what it used to say. So you can only infer by the he, the quote unquote correct version nowadays. Build it and he will come. Would it have to have been talking about his father? And when it said they, you had to think about it for a second because you knew, okay, that must mean the players and people watching. So he went through all that trouble to build that field. And again, it's just wrong. I'm 100% on that. I mean, that one was famous enough to get, have a saying where people would say that, just because it was kind of a weird scene in a line. So Jaws, not 100, but I'm about 85 on this one. 85% sure. Um, we're gonna need a bigger boat. I've heard people say that. I've seen the movie several times. I'm not sure. I'm just the percentage that's left over. I'm just afraid it's been misquoted. Okay. Um, but I sure do remember people saying that, and that's what I remember the movie saying too. And again, for the millionth time, it's not as good of a line. And it just doesn't work with the story as well. You're gonna need a bigger boat. Screw you. I'm getting off of here. That doesn't work. We're gonna, we're all in this boat together. We're gonna need a bigger boat. Um, so Star Wars is one that really hit me really hard. I was actually pissed off. So um, there's a YouTube channel out there, and it's called Same Feet, and he has a really good expose, if you want to call it, on the Star Wars Mandela effect. And everything he says there is exactly the way I feel about it. And I do impersonations too, and it's just impossible. I guess I could say that the line is not Luke, I am your father. It's the no, I am your father. I need to go back and watch it a lot more, but it just bothers me. I only watched a couple times. What Luke is saying before the main line we're talking about here, right before what he says, it doesn't go with no, I am your father. I don't know. I just it just looks all wrong. And for the 4 millionth time, Luke, I am your father is just so much more dramatic and everything else in every way. It's like it's not as good in this universe. That's a damn shame. I wish somebody would go back and just make me a redub that clip for me so I can watch it the right way. Like I want a copy of Star Wars with that little part overdubbed so I can watch the real movie again. You know what I'm saying? Okay, that's it for those. Now going into geography and like the this is one that is maybe not as talked about as much too. You hear Berenstain Bears and everything else, but what about the map looking different? What about countries moving around, islands moving around, Statue of Liberty moving? You know what this does, guys? This brings the phenomena to a whole new level. Because when I first started into this, being a researcher, paranormal researcher myself, I immediately thought of all kinds of causes this could be. Um, and I was really stuck on the time travel one because these are all just little tweaks, little differences in the details, and that just sounded something like you would see in a movie when they time travel and they change something in the past and it changes stuff all in the future, and really has an unpredictable effect. And this seems unpredictable. At times I can almost see where maybe when they were naming Interview with a Vampire, when Anne Rice was doing that, maybe she contemplated putting a "the" in there. It just seems like little things like that, which to me points to parallel universes. I keep coming back to that. So let me describe some of these, like Earth changes. I hate to say that; it's totally another deal. Um, Changes in Earth's landmass from what people remembered it. Um, so this isn't exactly a change in landmass, but when I was in school, I was taught there were four oceans, and now there seems to be five, and one of them is called the Southern Ocean, and I just don't remember that ever being there. I don't ever remember Southern Ocean. It's like not remembering ever the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, now that one, to be fair, isn't mentioned as much as all the other oceans. So maybe I had a blind spot there. I'm always trying to think because I know there is, memories will fail you. You know, human memory can go wrong. All the ones I've listed today, guys, I'm 80% sure or more, and most of them I'm 100% sure. And you couldn't give me any amount of money to say otherwise. You know what I mean? One of the changes that I find weird and I'm 80% on is the Statue of Liberty. When I think of Statue of Liberty, I don't know a whole bunch of information about it. I know the French gave it to us. It's in New York. It's on Ellis Island. And now evidently it's on Liberty Island and it's in New Jersey. So I don't know where I have messed up there or if history messed up. And um you can see on Ellis Island where there's a spot where the that's where I think the statue used to be. It was kind of closer in. And there are lots of changes in that little area too of New York, right there. And I've never heard of Liberty Island either. So I want to know why my teachers told me it was in New York on Ellis Island, and yeah, maybe Liberty Island is a sub island of Ellis, but that just doesn't, and it doesn't look right either when I look at the picture anymore. So that one I'm not 100 on, but I know something's weird about that. That's changed. Um, the one I have, another one is Italy, the boot. How the landmass looks like a boot from an aerial view. It's got that island right next to it, and I think I saw it said Sicily on there or Italy. I don't know. I should have the map out in front of me, and I don't. But this is all changed, so I don't know what's what. And anyway, I remember that boot with not having that island to the west of it there, like right. It's almost attached to it. I remember that boot being free and clear pretty much, or that island was kind of further out. So 80% sure on that. One that's really weird is the capital of Turkey. It's I thought it was Istanbul, and I was on Orphan's Red's one of her videos talking about the Mandela effect, and she brought up this Turkey one that I had never heard before, and that's another one I've got. I always knew the capital to be Istanbul, and They Might Be Giants had a song out that kind of reminded me of why I knew Istanbul was the capitals because I had to look into that. I didn't know what they meant by that song. So I had to look at why it's called Istanbul now and not Constantinople. And further on, I did some reading. Oh, and the capital's name is Ankara. Never heard of it. And then when you type into Google, why is Istanbul not the capital of Turkey? They have a little story about it. So it was like a possibility back in the day. They have to give a reason why it's not the capital. And when uh, when they took the country back, they were all set up in Ankara. I think they said it was their parliament, and they didn't want to move all that stuff to Istanbul, even though Istanbul was a more bustling town, probably had more money going through it, this and that. They decided to stay there in Ankara and make that the capital. So that's weird. That's another strange one. Uh, to give you more of an idea of how drastic the actual Earth mass, land mass, may have changed. I remember China being much larger than it is now. Now it's like the same size as the United States, but if you add Alaska into the United States is a little bigger. So they're close now. And Russia and China was always way bigger than the States than I remember. And Mongolia, I don't even remember being as a country. And I'll admit it may have been there and I didn't notice it. It just, to me, in my mind, the Mongolians never had a country. I just don't remember that country. And then it looks like it's taken up the space of, China, of how big it used to be. It's cutting into China. Um, and so you see how this couldn't be time travel on some of this because it just doesn't make sense. You can't, affect land um, the way the Earth shaped. The way the land on the Earth shaped is that doesn't make sense. It's something bigger. So if you can find some of this differences on the map and in the countries, you'll realize this is something big time spiritual, supernatural. Um, I'll call it supranatural. That's how supernatural it is. Supranatural is a whole nother level above supernatural. But that's and Jesse Spots on his channel. He made me realize that. I put it on his channel. I think this is all time travel. He's like, dude, that just doesn't explain the maps, them changing. And I'm like, you're totally right. That's a fact there. That doesn't make sense. So another couple of thoughts I'd like to say before in the video here. I just wish something's in that it's on the version. I kept on saying that the new versions of these that I'm hearing and like the true reality, I guess now, just aren't as good. We gotta figure out why that is. It's almost all of them are like that. I don't think this is okay. Here's the things we need to figure out. We need to figure out how long this has been going on, right? Now that I've got all these examples out of the way, I can kind of theorize a little. And tell what I think so far might be happening, but um, it's not a new phenomena. I don't think we would have noticed this before. It's not like we just got the internet 5 years ago or something, and we're just now talking about it. Um, I would like to say that that doesn't mean that it couldn't have been happening all along, and we're just now noticing it. But rather, I think that's possible. That could have been happening in the past. You know, who knows? But I'm pretty sure, at least like from the year 2000, probably 2001 and on, um, it's been getting worse. Like there's just more instances of them. You know, there's a lot more of Mandela effects happening. So I saw on one guy's video, I thought this was ingenious. He looked at a 80s cartoon site, an archive, right? And he was looking at the Berenstain Bears, and he was able to kind of narrow down by that website within less than a month when it changed. It said it kept saying Berenstain, 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 and then all of a sudden it said Berenstain. That might be a good way to get some timing on these and get some data points, right? That's what we need. I don't have any data points to look at and go, you know, it looks like this, it's trending like this, so I think it's this happening. You know, so this isn't a recent thing. I mean, it's a recent thing. Um, you know, that's important. We need to know how long this has been going on. Somebody did a video asking some people questions. I think it was Mr. Rogers, but it was mostly females, and it was younger girls. And the younger ones, of course, said it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, and the ones that were kind of older said it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. If you get my drift there, that means that, you know, the younger ones, that's all they know is the newer version. So you can kind of gauge by that how long this has been going on. So maybe somebody can do some work in that way. That's just another kind of, you know, connect the dots thing that I'm thinking. There's something we can figure out along those lines. And isn't it amazing that if you're like under 15, there's lots of things that you've always known to be true, you know, and for the older people, there's a lot of things that aren't. So that's fascinating in itself. Trying to think if there's anything else. That was kind of the, you know, wondering why the two different versions of reality. In this one I'm in now, a lot of things aren't as good in the entertainment and logo areas. They're not, I don't know. That's strange. And Mirror Mirror, why is that so prevalent among everybody? Um, so anyway, those are just a few of my thoughts, and I appreciate you guys for listening, and I will make another video soon, and we'll see you later.